everybody. This is Joshua Hatton with One Nation Under Whiskey Podcast, Extra Edition. I am joined today, and as usually as always, by my good friend and co-founder of Single Cask Nation, Jason Neal Johnston Yellen. Look at that. Look at that. Your proper name that's on the birth
Patrick
certificate.
Harris will return in due course. He's not gone for good.
He's not gone for good. No.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, here we are. What an exciting time to be alive.
It is an exciting time to be alive. I'm excited.
He said. He said apropos of today's episode.
Yes. Yeah, there are a lot of things to talk about. Can I ask you something before we talk about those things?
Okay.
Because I think it is an exciting time to be alive.
Okay.
Are you as excited?
Is this about a movie or an album?
It's an album.
Okay, so ask me if I'm excited about an album I haven't yet heard of.
Are you as excited as I am?
Let's say no, because we know this is obvious.
Angine de Poitrine. Viewers will see this.
Blessings. Blessings upon thee, Joshua.
Do you know who I'm talking about? Do you see these guys?
Of course, I have no idea who you're talking about.
Come on. These guys are,
Of
oh my
course
gosh.
I'm doing. Listen, how often do I drop authors into this chat? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I know my audience. Yeah. Like, you bring in these jamokes? Like, what? They're wearing pajamas on their heads. Like, no, I've never heard of them.
These guys, I'm telling you, they are going to save rock and roll. They're absolutely going to save rock and roll.
My gosh. For listeners, there's two bandmates on the screen here. The one on the right looks like one of the knights who say knee on his way to bed.
And what is he doing? Is he
saying like, knee?
No,
he's looking for a shrubbery?
He's the drummer.
He's banging out the tunes on his shrubbery.
So he's the drummer. The guy on the left, he has a guitar / bass, and yeah, they write these crazy, intricate yet groovy, super groovy songs. No vocals, no nothing. But they are taking the world by storm. And from a musician standpoint, I'm telling you, Jason, it's some of the best music that is being written, and I think that just like from even the casual listeners are like, what are these guys doing? These guys are amazing. I'm telling you, Angine de Poitrine.
Thank you for your public service.
It's an exciting time to be alive. I'm so glad that you led this podcast with that because I think it's exciting.
If I had one regret today, it's that I gave you the intro to that. Moving on.
Moving on. Yes, let's talk about why we do come here, why we get together, and that is whiskey.
Oh, I'm thinking it was my contract. Whiskey. Oh, it's the contract. Whiskey. Yes. Sorry. Yes. Been meaning to speak to my lawyer. Whiskey.
Yeah. We've got some. How
do you feel about whiskey?
How do
you feel about it?
How do I feel about whiskey?
How do you feel about it?
Listen, when I put work to the side. Now I'm being very honest with you. I'm going to bro down.
That's why I'm laughing.
When I put work to the side and I'm with someone who is getting into whiskey and is discovering whiskey, that passion, that fire just like lights up in me. Like I just, not that it's gone as I'm working, but right, work is work, you know? But I think there's really something to be said for just hanging out with people and just drinking whiskey for the sake of whiskey and talking about it and discovering flavor and where that flavor is coming from. And I really enjoy those conversations outside of work.
Yeah, and I think you brought it up on the recording, if not before we hit record. You definitely said it in the recording when we did the extra recently. That was the J Team tasting together in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And that's the shit, right? Like that's the excitement, the enjoyment, the passion, right? And I was thinking about whether I was going to make a declarative statement. And I think in honor of you opening with whatever that musical conversation was, I'm gonna, in the spirit of Joshua Hatton, make a declarative statement.
Ooh.
Okay? For listeners and viewers.
I'm bracing myself. I'm girding my loins.
Scotch is still the best spirit in the world.
Boom. Hands down.
And I love Scotch. I absolutely adore it. And very much to your point, sharing it, experiencing it with others, discussing it with people who already know it or are just learning about it, right? The chats around Scotch are fantastic. And please, when I make this declarative statement, I'm not downplaying how much I love and enjoy mezcal, American single malt, world single malt, rye, the occasional bourbon. And I do like the occasional bourbon. I don't often chime in on the bourbon chat.
The tone.
Chime in on it.
Occasional bourbon.
The occasional bourbon can be, listen, bourbon's consistently good.
Consistently good.
It's those moments of elevation where you go, holy shit, that's a bourbon, right? Yeah. So that to me is that category. So yes, so talking about it, sharing it, and I would say over the 15 years that we have been at the helm of Single Cask Nation, we have wanted to tell whiskey stories. We have shone a light on independent producers and larger producers, right? But it's always with an eye on what are we putting in front of the nation? And, since 2019, with Jess added to the J Team, that's a global presentation of Single Cask Nation and telling these stories. And, when we were at Independent Spirits Festival and we're busy there having whiskey conversations, cask conversations, to your point, right? Yep. And where's the spirit? Where's the cask? What's complementary in here? Where's this story going? And you and I have said this, and I hope we've got new listeners who are tuning in to hear this as well. When we talk about telling whiskey stories, it's not marketing. It's the story that whiskey in that cask is looking to have shared. That's the important story here. It's also a story of distilleries, also stories of producers, also stories of workers, also stories of communities. But the story that the whiskey in that cask wants to tell, that's why we're proud of non-chill filtering. That's why we're proud of no caramel colouring. That's why we're proud of cask strength. That's everything we want to shine through in the cask that we're presenting to the nation. That's exciting. That's very exciting.
I love that. Right. And it gets back to the name, right? Single Cask Nation. I think that's a really important part of the story that we're telling. When we taste, one of the things that surprised me the most in my own personal whiskey journey is my first taste of new make spirit and how wildly different it is from whiskey. The cask does so much heavy lifting. It really directs the flavor. And us as independent bottlers, we get to either select what that whiskey is going to be in the end or help direct flavors, right? When we're doing a re-racking program or something like that. Like it really is the joy of that job is focusing on that cask and telling that cask story and how those flavors develop. Why a bourbon cask does what a bourbon cask does, right?
Right. So to this very point, our last episode, we had a full interview with Matt Strickland. Amongst other books, is the author of Cask Management for Distillers. And he has a quote in that book, and we talk about this in our interview with him in the last episode. But this speaks to what you and I are discussing today, Joshua. So Matt writes, used American oak casks tend to move more into honeyed character. To be clear, when he talks about used American oak, so he's talking about our beloved friends in the bourbon industry who have done yeoman's work of seasoning these casks for Scotland. And so that's the use. So first fill, second fill, refill, right? So used American oak casks tend to move more into honeyed character. But this is just as much due to the cask's previous contents, typically bourbon, as it is to the cask itself. All the same. By the time the first spirit has left the cask, American oak is a much tamer beast. Large amounts of tannin have been depleted for a softer mouthfeel, while other characters, such as the vanillins and lactones, are still in decent supply. That's the story we're telling this month. This is the cask. This is the whiskey in cask that we are presenting to the nation this month, right? That's the place to go and explore. That's the place to look at the wood. This is the place to see where's the spirit.
God, I love that. It's so interesting hearing those words come from Matt when, I thought a number of those flavors were spirit driven. And then I come to find out they're cask driven.
Which ones in particular draw your attention there?
Well, I thought the buttery, the butteriness,
honeyed character that you mentioned,
the honey, the buttery, the honey quality. You think of, say, now, granted, we're not going to be talking about the Balvenie today, but you think of the Balvenie, and they're known as the honeyed whiskey.
I think of Cragganmore as a honeyed whiskey.
I think of Cragganmore as a honeyed whiskey. I think of one that we will be talking about today. I think that Glenmurray tends to have a nice honeyed quality to it, especially first fill. And it's usually bolstered by the big fruit coming, which I do think is a spirit-driven quality.
We've tasted the new make spirit from Glenmurray. We know exactly where the fruit comes from.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just so nice to hear where those flavors are coming from, and just to have it defined, right?
Well, and again, right, the fact that in his quote where he mentions mouthfeel, right? Large amounts of tannin have been depleted for a softer mouthfeel. What are we all talking about in the J team around single cask nation and cask selection? Mouthfeel, right? If you're chewing on a whiskey, if you're chewing on a cask strength whiskey from us, that's the cask, but those are the softer tannins in that cask. So that's very much an aspect of selection for us. So, all right, should we put some distillery leaves on these cask branches? That's one for the bingo cards out there.
Yeah, I'm actually going to lead with your favorite. and it's going to be in alphabetical order. I'm going to lead with your favorite because you, sir, have started a group known
Well,
as,
really, I've launched a following. To be clear,
to be clear.
it's a following. Just
The Balmenic Bunch.
the Balmenic Bunch represent, friends, represent. Man, oh man, yeah, it's so exciting to have a Balmenic. Great distillery, really wonderful distillery. Not necessarily one outside of independent bottler circles that is particularly well known, but we've said this in some other places. At the Independent Spirits Festival, people at that event were coming up and saying, oh, I know Balmenic. Oh, I like Balmenic. And I would say, well, you are in the Balmenic bunch. So, it's known for its worm tub condensing. It's known for its richness of spirit. It's known for its heft. It's known for its weight. It really lands on the palate incredibly well. And actually, I'm just pulling up our selection day notes here. And on the palate for this Balmenic, we've got a hefty, weighty palate with more malt and more orange peel, but with additional notes of oat cakes, honey grahams, toasted macadamia nuts, and a touch of vanilla bean.
Oh.
Now, how much does that echo, A, what we've quoted Matt Strickland as writing, and B, what we discussed with Matt in the last episode as well? Like, really, like, obvious flavors when you know you're dealing with full bourbon maturation.
Yeah.
Like, just cracking. Absolutely cracking.
Yeah.
You remember selecting that one?
I do. Yeah. Oh, I do. And I've got, the viewers can see it here. Oh, geez. My camera is not being cooperative, but I have, oh, there we go. Yeah. I have the little sample bottle that you sent me from the larger sample that you received. And, this one was just cracking out the gate. And I brought this little sample so I could just take a wee little pull from the bottle for our viewers and listeners here. So
# please enjoy the entire 1 ounce sample responsibly.
Oh, it's mouth coating. There's just
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, just a lovely soft richness to it. To tie into what Matt was saying, it's got that softness. And I think you've got the cask that's delivering what he's talking about. But again, as you mentioned, Balmenic is a worm tub distillery. So it's offering up its own weight. So you've got the two working in conjunction with each other. That is just a winning combination, and I can see why you have started this movement, this cult of Balmenic personality, the Balmenic Bunch. I mean, just fabulous.
Yeah, for me, it's that the fruit still has a role to play, and fruit manifests differently in different Balmenics. But the fact that you can have such a rich, unctuous, bright, zesty fruitiness while also getting the malt, while also getting the spice, while also getting the influence of the cask. I think the Balmenic does so many things in unison that I think it's a complete dram. And I think the casks that we specifically look for express the fulsome nature of the distillery. I think it has so much to offer.
And there's a really rich malty character that there's just a through line there. I think, again, it's a single cask nation hallmark, right? You've got mouthfeel, but we also want to highlight distillery character. And this is one of the things that I really enjoy about a bourbon barrel or a bourbon hogshead, yes, it's doing a lot here, but it also is not as impactful as, say, a sherry cask or some sort of a wine cask. It allows that spirit to show its own, and so that malt is really present and really tasty, nice, sweet. That orange peel, that orange zest you talked about is there. Yeah, lovely, just lovely.
Yep. Cracking Balmenic. Okay, being released in April.
Yeah, April. What's the date we have on?
We haven't revealed that yet, but just April. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. We will obviously talk more about it, and you will see it in your inboxes.
Okay. Yeah, I asked this because I know we will be asked.
Yeah, rightly so.
Yeah. So the next, and this is good, right? We're going from first fill bourbon to second fill bourbon. And it's been a while since we've released a second fill bourbon from this distillery. And it is Ben Nevis.
Yeah, look at that little beauty. Look at those colorings.
Yeah. And the color that we've called this, right? So for the Balmenic, the specific color that we've chosen is green flecked gold. And when you put that liquid in your glass, the Balmenic, you will see it's got lovely green flecks in it. The Ben Nevis is known as Cloud Dancer, which was the Pantone color of the year last year. So
look at us. Look at us being up on our Pantone colors of the year.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't just follow whiskey end of year news. We follow Pantone end of year news also. It had a certain clarity to it. That's one of those things, from your glass to the full-size bottle, you get a little darker as it sits in the full bottle. That is not working for any viewers following along at home. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not sure what's actually happening there. And so Cloud Dancers seem to set this one up very nicely. Also, I would argue a place where Ben Nevis is, I think in certain circles, known for taking big, heavy, sherry influence to it and still has a certain funkiness. Given the focus of this month, I love that not only does Ben Nevis have a chance to shine through second fill bourbon with its distillery characteristic funk, but also the nation gets to put a version of Ben Nevis up against the big sherried Ben Nevisi, plural Ben Nevis. Ooh. And so I think that's one of the things we're always looking for is exploration, right? We're always looking to be edified in popping a couple of whiskies next to one another. And if you put a second fill maturation, second fill bourbon cask Ben Nevis next to a heavily sherried, you're going to learn so much about that distillery. And you're going to get a chance to go through that spirit that we go through and say, okay, where's the spirit in here? Where's the distillery in here? And where's the cask? Where's the wood? Where are those types of components we discussed with Matt Strickland?
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you, having a sip here, I'm making a mental connection to the 6-year-old that we released, was it last year, maybe the year before, which was from that Amontillado Gorda.
Did you say last year or the year before?
I did. Last year or the year before. Are
the
those not proper
Amontillado
words?
Gorda Ben Nevis?
When did we release that?
5 years ago? 6 years ago?
Whenever. The year that we released that, Jason.
I love the fact you said last year. That's amazing. We say it all the time. How does time work? Not like that.
Not like that. right? No one knows. No one knows. We're all broken, Jason. We're all broken people.
I will be thinking about for the rest of this week. That's amazing. I used to have
It's
I'm
the
looking
only
over
way
my
you can come to
shoulder.
completion.
I'm
By
looking
thinking
over
of
my
that.
shoulder because I used to have a bottle of that Ben Nevis Amontillado.
Yeah,
RØDE,
look for it. I
on my-
guarantee it was released last year or the year before.
Don't even say the year before. Just stop it last year. Like, that is poetry. Just guarantee that it was released last year. That, my friend, is the best thing I've heard
It wasn't
in
last
20.
year. I can guarantee it
My
wasn't
God.
last year.
See, when you said no Glendronach has been released by an independent bottler since 2010,
Jason?
I thought that was going to win the award, the year's
Jason.
award for foot and mouth disease. But last year's Ben Nevis Amontillado is, I'm just going to sit quietly for the next 5 minutes and take this in.
You keep on using my words against me. All right. Can I say my words? Or are you just going to sit there and you're going to laugh, chuckle into the mic?
I'm just going to sit here and chuckle to myself for a bit longer.
So
I'm even, you keep talking. I'm calling up the archives so I can tell you when that was bottled.
shit, fuck, that's going to be,
You please continue with your
it's going to
words.
be 2012 we released that.
Here we go. Amontillado, first fill, Gorda, 67.6%, one of 754 bottles, was bottled
2024.
last year.
Shut up.
Yeah, I'm 100% lying to you right now. It was bottled. It was bottled September of 2020.
2020? 2020?
Well, last year.
So that's actually, that saved me, Jason. That was 2020. What happened that year, Jason?
Nothing
What
at
happened
all.
in
We just sat
2020?
around.
20, it was the worst year. Everything broke. Our brains, I'm still broken.
Last year. See, when you said our Ben Nevis from last year, I was like, he's not going to say Amontillado cask. There's no way he's about to say Amontillado cask. And then you said Amontillado cask. That's partly why I'm having the reaction that I'm having, because that is hilarious. Okay. What are your words about being reminded of our 6-year-old Ben Nevis from September of 2020?
What I loved about that release is because it was younger and because the cask was so incredibly large, right? It was a gourd. It was a 700-liter cask. So it had, even though it was first fill, the wood had less impact on the spirit than it would if it were a smaller cask.
Absolutely.
So you had more access to the spirit itself.
Yeah.
And here you have the same thing going on, right? It's second fill bourbon, so we have more access to the spirit. And so I'm getting that connective tissue. I'm discovering the spirit here, and it's so clear, right? You've got that damp malt, you've got that Ben Nevis funk going on. There's a wonderful, wonderful richness, and I'm gonna go to our notes here because I took a little sip and I got it straight away on the palate. So I'm gonna read those. Really warming with rich malt, whoppers, Ovaltine, raisins, and just a touch of freshly sliced fennel, green banana as it transitions towards the finish. And the finish goes on with more pronounced malt, warm earth, gray pepper, and dark chocolate. Like that's Ben Nevis, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting that from a second fill bourbon cask, right? Are we? I think we're on a barrel size here, but getting this from second fill is
it is a barrel.
Right. When you talk raisins, I think sherry. When you talk dark chocolate, I think cask presence, but a more pronounced cask, right? That coming from spirit in a second fill,
Right.
It's a wonderful, wonderful look at the distillery and the distillery characteristic. I know we also talked on the nose, charred sticks, dirt floor, petrichor, right? Those are the Ben Nevis notes. Those are unmistakably Ben Nevis. And I am, as much as I got a ton of fun out of your description of last year, I'm really glad you bring up the 6-year-old Ben Nevis and Amontillado, because even though we put out, check's own notes from 1 minute ago,
54?
754 bottles. Look at you remembering something from 60 seconds ago. I mean, last year. And people talk about that. The nation still asks about the Ben Nevis and Amontillado. I literally had someone, and it always happens all the time over one release or another, but literally last year, maybe this is where you're getting it from last year. Last year, somebody asked me if we still had any of that available. And he said, Joshua says it's a new release. And I said, no, that was bottled in 2020. But Ben Nevis is loved in the nation, is what I'm saying. And so don't sleep on it. There are not 754 bottles of this. And so go search it out. Go look for it. Go order it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's complete our little alphabetical run here, Joshua. And let's get out of here.
Now, you and I, sir, have a particular love affair. Yeah. Let me finish this sentence. We have a particular love affair with this distillery.
Text contract. Okay.
We have a love affair with this distillery.
100%. Yep.
Right.
And Ian Allen, who represents it globally, you know. Ian's amazing.
Did I tell you that I met up with him in Austin?
Yep. Had some Guinness.
Yeah, had some Guinness. Lovely, lovely guy. Yep. And so that is the Glen Murray Distillery.
Yeah, look at that. That is classic. Set your watch by it. Glen Murray. Absolutely wonderful. What it also does, Joshua, in this 15th year of ours, takes us right back to the beginning, right? This was in the second round of 3 casks we released. And so we put out, checks notes, a 12-year-old first fill bourbon barrel. Interestingly, way back then, so this was bottled August of 2012, but way back then, that Glen Murray was distilled in June of 2000. And this is distilled June of 2012, 2 months before we bottled our original one. Wow. And so we're always looking at that connective tissue. We're always looking at that, Single Cask Nation cinematic universe. And there's such a through line from this offering in our 15th anniversary year to that one that helped kickstart the whole enterprise way back with a 2012 bottling. So I'm so pleased to have this back out in the world. It's a chance for Glen Murray to shine through. And the first fill bourbon on this is so complementary to what we were saying a moment ago, the Glen Murray fruit, right? It's bright, it's fruity, it's ripe. We threw in honey-dipped apples, right? There's the honeyed note, right? Back from what we were quoting with Matt Strickland earlier, coming in from the cask. So this to me is quintessential Glen Murray, and I like it in all forms and all formats. This feels like the platonic ideal of Glen Murray Distillery. And I feel like if you know Glen Murray in first fill bourbon, full maturation, you understand everything else Glen Murray does. Whether it's in Chardonnay cask, whether it's sherried, whether it's peated, right? You understand so much about that distillery from fresh bourbon Glen Murray. I'm super excited to have this on the go. Super excited.
Yeah. Uh, there's some people out there, and I hear this every once in a while, thankfully, far less than I did earlier on when we first launched, right? There were people who only knew their non-age stated whiskeys or their Chardonnay cask or what have you, and it was bottled at 40%, chill filtered, and it just didn't float their boat. There's a difference. There's something to be said for Glenmurray at full cask strength, non-chill filtered. It becomes a massive monster of a beast that is so jam-packed with complexity and fruit and just that honey. Like, it is a different animal. And this isn't to say that those other that either you or I think those other whiskeys are bad whiskeys. They're perfectly fine whiskeys that they have in their own line. And I can understand why someone would say, well, from a single cask, I would expect, I don't want those things. But from a single cask of Glenmurray, you're not going to get the 40% experience. You're going to get a very different Glenmurray experience that is full on, right? It is the single cask nation. This is the Spinal Tap. This goes to 11 experience, right?
Well, and on that very aspect of it, on our selection day notes, the palate shows full mouth coating texture, bright and effervescent across the palate, notes of pear drops, apricot, oak spice, cracked black pepper, crystallized ginger, so incredibly round as it transitions towards the finish. That's your cask and your spirit in perfect harmony right there. That's everything we're looking for this month in full bourbon cask maturation. Three absolute stonking good whiskies here. Absolutely remarkable. And each one bringing a different distillery profile to the table and giving you opportunity for jumping off points to say, okay, now I know more about Glenmurray. Okay, now I know more about Ben Nevis. Oh, here's Balmenic over here. So much more to learn there. So this is why we do what we do, Joshua. We led off today's episode talking about like being genuinely in love with Scotch whiskey.
Yeah.
And I think these three casks are a paean to what we love about Scotch and distillery profile and spirit and wood. It just sums us up. It's a great way to kick off our year of 2026 releases in this blessed 15th anniversary year.
Fantastic. And just quickly to make sure I was clear in my opening salvo, my opening statement about work, what I was saying is, despite this being my job, I'm still so passionate about whiskey. So many people, they get into what their dream is and then they're soured on it. I agree with you. Scotch whiskey remains the best thing, and I'm still incredibly excited about it. And then when I see other people getting into it, it lights that fire anew. Like it becomes that thing again. So I just want to be very clear that was the spirit of my statement. See what I did there? Spirit. We received a message, I think it was either on YouTube or Instagram. No, it was Facebook on the
Last year?
I think it was last year. Regarding our Matt Strickland episode. And I thought it was great. I wanted to put this up on here. It says, "This was my favorite episode you've ever done. The geekery was very satisfying and edifying. Ordering Matt's books right now."
Fantastic. That's wonderful. Anyone getting to this point of extra who hasn't heard that interview, please do go back. There's a wonderful ringing endorsement for it being well worth your time. And we really did discuss like the focused aspect of casks and how you build a distillery program and what you're looking for and what they're delivering. Yeah, he was a great guy to talk to. It was first time having a lengthy conversation with him and really enjoyed it. Really good lad. So yeah, please go check that out.
Yeah, agreed. So again, this month in April, we are going to be releasing online. These are online exclusives. Our Balmenic 12-year-old, our Ben Nevis 8-year-old, and our Glen Murray 13-year-old.
Beautiful. Two space ciders and a Highlander.
Exactly. All ex-bourbon. We will be announcing the date shortly. That will be in your inbox if you subscribe to our mailing list. If you don't, just go to singlecasknation.com and just go to the Join the Nation link, and you'll be on our mailing list. If you're already within the nation and you're part of our private Facebook group, you'll see the information there. If you're not part of our private Facebook group, well, you can join that as well. You'll find the link to that in your inbox if you're part of our mailing list and within the nation. You'll always find out about our releases and when they are coming out, so long as you're on our mailing list. So do join us. Singlecasknation.com. Join the nation. Is there anything else?
Subscribe while you're here on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Subscribe to us. Tell your friends about us. Tell everybody to subscribe to us. Also, send questions. We love questions. We love to answer them. Sometimes we might answer them with correct dates, incorrect dates.
Declarative statements.
Incomplete
lists.
Oh, Jason, what are we going to do with me?
Checks contracts.
This has been fun. Yes. Okay. Goodbye, Jason.
Cheers.
Cheers.